Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into something that is honestly a total game changer. It's called the Psychotech Leadership Blueprint. We're going to break down exactly why challenges actually fuel personal growth and how you can turn your own inner strength into very real, measurable success. If you've ever felt totally stuck by a roadblock, this is going to completely flip how you look at your next big hurdle. Let's get into it.
So why do challenges completely destroy some people but entirely define others? We see it in history all the time, right? Two people face the exact same crisis, but they end up with wildly different outcomes. And you know what? The secret almost never has to do with external stuff. It's not about their bank account, and it's certainly not about luck. It all comes down to this one crucial concept: self-mastery.
I want you to really let this thought sink in for a second. The biggest challenge is never outside you. It is always the version of you that has not yet mastered yourself. Every single great leader out there, whether we're talking about an entrepreneur, a top-tier athlete, or a brilliant scientist, they all eventually realize this. The ultimate battlefield isn't the economy. It's not your competitors. The real battlefield is your own mind. That's where true growth actually kicks off.
Now, conventionally, we're basically wired to look at challenges as these big, scary external enemies, right? Just absolute roadblocks meant to defeat us. But the Psychotech view totally dismantles that illusion. In this framework, challenges don't defeat you. They're actually diagnostic tools. They are these raw, unfiltered opportunities for evolution. When you make self-mastery your internal operating system, every single roadblock transforms into a stepping stone.
Which brings us to this really fascinating equation. Outer victory equals inner mastery multiplied by strategic action. What this tells us is that external excellence is really just a mirror. It reflects a conscious, continuous internal grind. Self-mastery isn't about being flawless. It's about progress. It's that daily discipline of choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. Because while you can never control what happens out there, you completely control how you respond in here.
All right, moving into Section 1, Challenges as Diagnostic Tools, Exposing Hidden Weaknesses. Think of your mind kind of like a computer's operating system. When a major crisis hits, it doesn't just invent new problems out of thin air. It simply exposes the bugs that were already hiding in the code. We're talking about things like limiting beliefs, fear of failure, or emotional instability. If a project tanks because of poor decision-making or negative self-talk, the external challenge wasn't the actual root problem. It was just an X-ray showing you exactly where your internal architecture was a little weak.
So the huge takeaway here is this. When you start viewing challenges as diagnostic tools pointing straight to the next version of yourself that needs to be developed, it completely rewires your relationship with failure. Instead of playing the victim and asking, why is this happening to me? You start asking, okay, what weakness is this exposing and how do I upgrade my mindset to fix it?
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, Upgrading Your Operating System, the 7 Layers of Self-Mastery.
Progress doesn't happen by accident. It takes a disciplined system. We have to upgrade our software layer by layer. Step 1 is mastering your mind. This is that vital shift from saying, I can't, to asking, how can I? Once you've got your mindset right, step 2 is mastering your emotions. Logic might make the decisions, but emotion is what executes them. True leaders respond strategically. They don't just react emotionally when things get tough. And step 3, mastering your energy. Because honestly, time management is practically useless if you don't have the energy to back it up. High energy drives high execution. Building on that, step 4 is mastering your habits. Success is really just a collection of behaviors you repeat every single day. Step 5 is mastering decisions, meaning you focus on improving the quality of your choices before you just blindly crank up the quantity of your effort. Step 6 is mastering relationships, which is basically your ultimate leadership capital. And finally, step 7, mastering your purpose. Your purpose is your anchor. It's what keeps you pointing true north when the obstacles feel completely insurmountable.
Okay, Section 3, Framework for Strategic Action, the CHELLNGE system. Let's see how to apply this. Now that our internal system is fully upgraded, we can use a super practical framework to hit adversity head-on. The first half is all about diagnosis. C is for clarify. What exactly is happening right now? Separate the cold hard facts from your assumptions. H is highlight. Why is this happening? A is assess. What strengths do you already bring to the table? L is learn. What knowledge are you missing? And the second L is leverage. Who can actually help you with this? Just asking these specific questions takes a chaotic, stressful crisis and turns it into a totally solvable puzzle.
To finish out the system, we shift into action. E is for execute. Take focused, strategic action without letting your attention get divided. N is navigate. You've got to stay adaptable as the terrain shifts around you. G is grow, making sure you always extract a real lesson from any setback. And that last E stands for elevate. Share what you've learned to inspire the people around you. Because ultimately, this kind of strategic execution doesn't just elevate you, it elevates your entire team.
Let's look at some rapid-fire proof of this in the real world. Thomas Edison is a classic example. He famously ran thousands of experiments before he perfected the light bulb. Most people would call those thousands of failures, but Edison, who was operating with an insanely high level of self-mastery, just called it data. It was his emotional resilience, combined with raw scientific curiosity, that transformed frustrating setbacks into literally world-changing innovation. We see that exact same inner architecture in Nelson Mandela. The man spent 27 years in prison. Anyone else would have emerged completely bitter and consumed by a need for revenge, and understandably so. But instead, he emerged wiser. He proved that true leadership absolutely requires mastering yourself first. He had to master his own anger and emotions before he could ever safely and effectively lead millions to transform a deeply divided nation.
And hey, this doesn't just apply to individuals either. Look at ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization. They've dealt with some very public mission failures, but rather than spiraling into a toxic culture of finger-pointing and blame, their teams focus strictly on learning, tweaking their systems, and applying scientific thinking. They literally converted their failures into organizational intelligence. That right there is institutional self-mastery at its finest.
Let's bring this into today's world. Section 4, the future-proof human. Why AI makes self-mastery essential.
Putting all of this into a modern context is fascinating. We all know what AI does well, right? It automates information, it processes massive mountains of data, and it optimizes mechanical tasks like nobody's business. But here's the thing. AI cannot automate wisdom. It cannot replicate human courage, integrity, emotional intelligence, or purposeful leadership. The future absolutely belongs to the people who can combine modern tech capabilities with deep, irreplaceable psychological mastery.
There's a really brilliant thought I want you to keep in mind. Every mountain appears impossible from the valley. Every challenge appears overwhelming before mastery. Great leaders don't just magically avoid adversity. They deliberately build their internal architecture so they can handle the pressure, and in doing so, they completely strip challenges of their power to intimidate them.
We've covered a ton of ground in this explainer today, but I want to leave you with one final powerful thought. When you truly master yourself, adversity doesn't break you. It actually becomes your absolute greatest teacher. Every single challenge is just an invitation to evolve. So as you inevitably face your next big hurdle, the question isn't how to avoid it. The real question is, who will you choose to become? Thanks so much for exploring this blueprint with me, and I hope you use these tools to build something extraordinary.